You! You looked cool. Cooler than I thought you would, anyway. Just a little. Well, anyway, you saved me, so I guess I'll reward you. What do you wish? Just tell me. You know your mom's stone? I kinda need that. You mean the spiritual stone of waters or a sapphire, don't you? My mother gave it to me and said I should give it only to the man who will be my husband. You might call it the Zora's engagement ring. Oh no. Alright. I'll give you my most precious possession, Zora's sapphire. We obtained Zora's Sapphire. This is the spiritual stone of water passed down by the Zoras. Her most precious possession? You don't know what she's talking about, but you finally collected all 3 spiritual stones. Go back to see Princess Zelda. Don't tell my father. You know, given Link's origins and lack of social interaction with people beyond the Kokiri growing up, I wouldn't be surprised if he thinks that marriage is a type of food. Alright, now, if you want to progress with plot, you do want to head over to Hyrule Castle Town, particularly right outside of it. But there is now, since we have the boomerang, a couple of more gold Skulltulas and heart pieces we can grab around the world that I want to grab now. Namely, the gold Skulltulas are going to be the main thing we're grabbing this part. So I am going to be going all over the map and deliberately avoiding wherever I can Hyrule Castle Town. For instance, in a few moments when I actually leave Zora's Domain, I'm going to be taking a deliberate left into the Lost Woods and then backtracking from Hyrule from there. I won't be showing all of it, otherwise we'd be here for close to a half hour. But I will warn you, if you're here for more plot progression, stay here for the rest of this part, because we do that this part. Just not until the last, like, 5 minutes. Also, here in Zora's Domain, Ruto now stands right next to King Zora. Did my most precious possession help you in your quest? Oh, God, it's like Asuka from Evangelion, only slightly afterwards. Oh, tsunderes and games. There were a couple before this, but she was the first one a lot of us were exposed to, because most of us were too young for Evangelion at this point. What do you mean I'd already seen it? That's a weird thing I don't think I've really talked about. My early anime experiences, the Cowboy Bebop, Mobile Fighter G Gundam, and Evangelion were my first 3, just due to what was airing at certain places at the time, as well as certain friends of my brother just letting me watch stuff that I probably shouldn't have. And also, seeing that right there from a moment ago, both here and in Lake Hylia, there are more Zoras than there appear to be. If you see bubbles immediately under the surface of the water, there is a Zora there who will pop up to talk to you. I just don't, because I don't talk to many of the NPCs throughout the game. Now, similarly to Goron City, you might notice that there's this little thing over here. If we dive down into this water, we can find a passage to enter as long as you have the silver scale. And like Goron City's little exit, this brings us right to the Lost Woods. In fact, the Goron City exit is literally right ahead of us right now. And now it's time for easily the biggest sort of backtrack point. You might remember back when we were doing the Great Deku Tree dungeon, that my little informative call-out saying that this is where this item is, for notation's sake, said that there was one Skulltula we haven't gotten in the Great Deku Tree. Now that we have the bombs and the boomerang, we can now get that. This is the earliest point of where that you can come back to do this and not have to backtrack back twice. But I am going to just jump cut right to the point in the Great Deku Tree where this Skulltula is at, or at least the closest point that's recognizable. You need to head to the bottom floor just across from the water through that little crawl cubby, as that brings us back to this room where there were Goma larva pieces on the top of the screen that I took care of ahead of time. There was a bombable wall here you could have seen all the way back then, which now leads to a door. And behind it is not only a Skulltula, like a standard Skulltula, but also on the wall, a golden Skulltula. I remember when I was a kid trying to come back here immediately after Dodongo's Cavern because I remembered the bomb walls, but I always forgot that I needed the boomerang. So save time, don't backtrack here only after having the bombs. Come back after you've beaten Jabu-Jabu's belly. With that, we now want to head over to Lon Lon Ranch, as now that we have the boomerang, there's a couple of more gold Skulltulas we can grab over here. One of them is right on the window to what I believe is the bedroom, if I'm recalling this house's layout. This is one of the first indications you'll have of having a long-range weapon that can retrieve stuff later on in the game, depending on when you come to Lon Lon Ranch. And next up, I want to come all the way towards the southwest again, near that little storage room I got the fourth piece of part in, because there's a gold Skulltula on this wall as well. They really do just taunt you with a lot of out-of-reach gold Skulltulas throughout the game, and it's really annoying. And now for a relatively large trick. We need to head from Lon Lon Ranch all the way over towards Gyarados Valley. Not into Gyarados Valley itself, at least not yet. As there are a couple more gold Skulltulas in that rough location. You're going to need bombs for this, so make sure you have at least one. As otherwise, you're just going to have problems getting stuff done in the proper order. Or at least my proper order. Some people would save these kind of items for later in the game when they're actually heading in these various directions. I just choose to get it all done now. Right in the middle of these stone rings is a bombable grotto. And you're going to want to bring in Din's Fire for this, by the way. Also, those green jars, I don't think I've talked about those yet because I accidentally picked one off screen. Those green jars refill your magic meter. There are two sizes, small and large. At this point, though, a small will do about half of your magic meter. Oh. Having fun? Okay, then. Have a nice day. Yeah, that's another thing I haven't shown off and won't be showing off. The Gossip Stones located throughout Hyrule. If you use various items on them, they'll react in various ways, like using a bomb on them causes them to do a countdown from 5 and then blast off into the air like a rocket for some reason. I don't understand why. It's cool, but why? Now, if you were also flashing back to the last time I did a major cleanup like this, I want to say that was after Dodongo's Cavern. I actually can't recall, or was it before Dodongo's Cavern? The last time we were in Gyarados Valley, either way, there was another Skulltula I actively couldn't grab yet as well, just near the entrance of Gyarados Valley. Now that we have the boomerang, of course, we can get that. Now, there's something I always have trouble forgetting with some of these Skulltulas in particular, and that's whether or not they're going to be available later on in the game. None of the Skulltulas are ever missable, but there are phases where sometimes they don't show up, sometimes they do. I can't explain that too much without accidentally saying plot stuff, so we'll just go over that when the time comes. As with most times when we go to Gyarados Valley thus far, now we need to head over to Lake Hylia. It always hurts to do this, but here we go again! Alright, here we are in Lake Hylia, and on the back of the laboratory there's another Skulltula. Now, something I'm not showing off, because I actually forget what it does at this point, is that Kaepora Gaebora is behind me right now, on top of a gravestone that hides a grotto beneath it. And I think if you talk to him, he offers to take you somewhere, but I forget where. I want to say he might take you to the front of Castle Town, but I honestly can't remember. Also, from now on, whenever I see a soft soil patch, I'm generally going to be planting a magic seed into it. I actually forgot to do it in Kokiri Forest earlier, if I recall correctly, though, so we'll be seeing me do that later on, hopefully. In the case I actually did cut that out. Whoops. Actually, wait, no, I had 4 there, and I used 1 right next to the seed man, so yeah, I've used 2 total out of the 5 so far. We're good, we're good! Speaking of which, though, now we want to head over towards Kakariko. Also, make sure you take this path and backflip over that particular cliff, because then that allows you to get close to Hyrule Castle Town without activating the cutscene. Also, it's getting a little stormy. And here we got another Skulltula area. There's just a normal Skulltula and a gold Skulltula here. More often than not in these areas, you don't have to take out the actual Skulltula. I only do it in case it's going to cause me annoyance. If you're playing this game casually and you just want to get the worthwhile rewards for gold Skulltulas, I don't even recommend doing these huge backtracks back and forth to get the Skulltulas that I'm doing here, as through later dungeons and the stuff you've gotten even by like part 10 of this LP, you have more than enough Skulltulas to get every actual reward. Now, I'm in the graveyard for two reasons. One is to plant that magic seed, but also you may have heard it back when you were here doing the Dampe's grave digging tour, but there is a gold Skulltula on this wall up here. This one I remember as the one that I first used the boomerang on, just because I remember it taunting me so. It's not like I didn't know the boomerang was coming, as again, we had the strategy guide growing up, and whenever we had strategies guides growing up and I was having trouble getting through that point in the game at that point, I would still read on ahead just because I liked the maps or the pictures. That's why I knew about the big thing in Final Fantasy VII, as well as most of the endgame plot in Wind Waker, because we got that strategy guide at an FYE near me about 2 years after I got the game, because I really sucked at Zelda games. Between the stealth section early on in Wind Waker and having trouble with getting to the Forsaken Forest dungeon, I just sucked at it. Or whatever the name of the second dungeon was. And now we're back in the Dodongo's Cavern area of Death Mountain Trail, as not only am I going to plant that seed, but I'm going to speed our way through Dodongo's Cavern here, as there's now another gold Skulltula we can get here. I want to say this is the only point in the game you can get this, in terms of, like, consistent availability. I'm not even sure if it's available later on in the game as a consistency thing. But we want to head back to the room with the giant staircase that we bombed the bottom of. With that said, you want to take the taller platform that raises in the main room to come from it from above, as it's the only way you can actually get that gold Skulltula. Also, I lost my Deku Shield, god damn it. As on the sides of the giant staircase, there are climbable vine walls. And you could have seen this room, if you were paying attention in this room on the first actual trek through Dodongo's Cavern. But there's a cubby up here that contains yet another golden Skulltula. This is probably one of the most egregious backtracking Skulltulas in the game, just because you have to basically play through half of a dungeon in reverse. But thankfully, since you don't have to actively do any puzzles beyond maybe the pull the Armos statue out of the way and step on the switch thing, it's nothing too bad. It's times like this, though, I wish I had a song that could make me escape from dungeons like Majora's Mask Onwards really had. But that said, I do actually want to make one last stop here in Dodongo's Cavern to the business scrub I mentioned back when we were actually doing the dungeon, as I want another Deku Shield, because I like having shields. Not. I give up. If you let me go, I'll sell you a Deku Shield for 50 rupees. Oh, you're going for a 10 rupee more expensive way than any other place in the game you can really get one. With that, though, we now have enough Skulltulas to come back to the House of Skulltula. I've technically had enough since I want to say 2 parts ago now. But since we have 44, we can now get the 30 and 40 Skulltula reward. Only one of these is really worth it, though. The curse has been broken. Thank you. Here's a reward for you. And he gives us 10, or no, I think he gives you 20 bomb shoes. Either way, we get bomb shoes. They work exactly as they did during Bomb Shoe Bowling. Carry in place with C, this is a new type of bomb that can even crawl up walls. Aim well and release it. They're super unreliable and I don't like them. The curse has been broken. Here, thank you. Here's a reward for you. And now we get the Giant's Wallet. What a huge wallet. Now we can carry up to 500 rupees, the highest amount you can carry in the game. Though a part of me wants to say 3DS may have introduced another wallet that raised the amount you could carry even higher. I actually have to look that up. I might be thinking of Wind Waker editing the wallets, though, or Twilight Princess for that matter. I forget which one of those is the 30 reward and the 40 reward off the top of my head, because I always get them together. But with that, I now want to actually bomb the center of Kakariko, as relatively close to the center of this big open area in the middle. There is a grotto for us that I want to gain access to. Also, by the looks, I might be thinking of Wind Waker or Twilight Princess. Not surprising. Not surprising. Now, while there are 2 Redeads here, I thankfully have Deku Sticks, which means I can easily take care of these things. And you don't need to come down here ever. This isn't even for completion. I just want my wallet to be a bit more full, as this is very good for that purpose. Because after defeating them, a small chest shows up with a relatively big reward in it. Also, I want some magic back. I've used Inspire a lot this part. In this chest is a gold rupee, which is 200 rupees, as I've mentioned before. Super good to have one of those. Really good right after getting the Giant's Wallet for this. With that, that's about everything I wanted to do in the world, honestly. I can't remember anything else on the top of my head, so let's finally head over to Hyrule Castle Town Market. I hate how long that name is. That's why I always just call it Castle Town. Ah, beautiful day, nice and calm. Never mind, it's getting kind of cloudy out. You know what? I like overcast. It's nice, it's relaxing. Why is the drawbridge down? That's not right. I lost her. You, over there, little kid. You must have seen the white horse gallop past just now. Which way did it go? Answer me. That way? So you think you can protect them from me? You've got guts, kid. Yeah, I do. You want a piece of me? Very funny. I like your attitude. Ow! Pathetic little fool! Do you realize who you are dealing with? I am Ganondorf, and soon I will rule the world. Asshole! Still, if he's after Zelda directly now, this is not good. Also, was it me or did Zelda throw something into the moat a moment ago? Let's see. Yeah, there's something there. An ocarina? What the hell is this thing? We found the Ocarina of Time! This is the royal family's hidden treasure which Zelda left behind. It glows with a mystical light. Link, can you hear me? It's me, Zelda. Link, when you hold this ocarina in your hand, I won't be around anymore. I wanted to wait for you, but I couldn't delay any longer. At least I could leave you the ocarina and this melody. we've learned the Song of Time. Now, Link, play this melody in front of the altar in the Temple of Time. You must protect the Triforce. All right. Well, with that, I'm going to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 13, we're not going to be doing that. If I'm recalling correctly, next part is mostly just a single side quest. See you guys then.